Hi again then guys, and welcome to, finally, my overarching thoughts and review of the entire 1.40 update in GT Sport. And of course, usually I would do this the same day that the update drops, but for those of you who saw my community post or who are on the Discord server, you probably saw me mention that it took, and this is not hyperbole, 14 hours to download the update, literally all day. By the time it was done, it was almost midnight. And that's, of course, not the kind of time I'm going to put out a review, especially when the community videos were already scheduled for that time anyway. So, it is out today. Working on the internet provider, sorting out the physical issues that I'm having with the internet, but they are taking their sweet time. No surprises there. And so, what can you expect from the 1.40 patch if you haven't already played it? By this point, many of you have. So, what are your thoughts down below? And here's my thoughts. Well, first of all, of course, we saw that the trailer had a lack of rain, a very notable lack of rain, especially given how many people wanted it to come, of course, this month, but just in general. I've said before that I'm not the massive proponent of rain that many people are, but I get it. I get why people want it. I'm more of a snow kind of guy. That would interest me far more. But no rain. We do not have rain in 1.40. Let's move on, because at this point Polyphony is starting to make this into a trend. They showed us the Red Bull 2 months ago, we didn't get it until this month. They showed us rain now, we'll probably get it next month, etc. It's just becoming a trend, and I have thoughts that I'm going to be putting out there as far as how Polyphony is running, or lack thereof, their communication with the community. But we'll get to that at a future time. Now, as far as what you do actually get from this patch, we've got 6 new track variations, of course, at Sardegna, the first road variations on that circuit, previously just a rally track, and a very nice little rally track as well. We have 5 new vehicles, the Red Bull X2019 competition, of course the Clio V6, the Toyota Tundra, the Sports 800 from Toyota as well, and the Camaro Z28, which I've predicted a number of times. Of course, they brought the Camaro to the game. So, first of all, what about the new track? Well, I'll feature some footage of said new track in a number of different driving forms. I like it. I like it overall. I have to say that the second variation, the one that looks kind of like a sideways version of Catalunya, which you'll see me driving the Camaro on, in particular in this video, is probably my favourite of the 3 variations. And of course we have forward and reverse as well, but in particular, just in an overarching sense, I think I like that one the most. The longest track of the 3, it looks nice, but it's actually kind of boring to me. It's very simple, there's not much technicality to the track at all. Also, the road is very narrow, and not just that, the track is very narrow. I don't mind circuits that are narrow, Monaco for instance, but I prefer it if there's a little bit of runoff because it makes the track just look and feel that little bit bigger. And that is, funnily enough, something that the second layout that I drove the Camaro on does have. There's a lot of overrun on, for instance, grass and sand sections, which just makes the track feel that much bigger, whereas on the longest variation, it's a very narrow course for a lot of the way, and I just find that boring, to be honest. I find it it's too much constraint, especially in something as massive as a Tundra. Now, as far as the cars themselves, what are my thoughts? Well, of course, I'll do full tunes and breakdowns in terms of reviews for all 5 of them, but in terms of just a brief look at them, the Tundra is probably the standout for me because it's so different to all of the others. It's finally some rivalry for the Raptor, which means that Gran Turismo Sport, of course, only has 2 pickup trucks, but both of them have never been featured in the franchise before, which is pretty cool. That's the upside of it. And it's a very interesting little throwback to how good the other Toyota pickup truck used to be in Gran Turismo, from Gran Turismo 4 to Gran Turismo 6, and that was, of course, the Tacoma. Significantly lighter than pretty much all of the other trucks in the game. Also one of the very few to have rear-wheel drive instead of all-wheel drive, and it was brilliant. Excellent truck through corners. It could actually genuinely rival sports cars. This one does not have some of those advantages. Of course, it's not quite that light and it is all-wheel drive, but it still definitely feels more nimble than the Ford does. Which isn't too surprising. Polyphony's always had a leaning towards the Japanese vehicles feeling really good, just like Forza does with the American cars feeling very good. That's no surprise there, really. I like the Tundra. Overall, it's got a lot of power, a lot of torque. The one that I'm driving in the video is not overly powerful. It's like stock power, and I just dropped the weight. And you can actually drop it by quite a lot. It's like 800 kilos, from about 2.5 tons to about 1.7. So pretty nice drop. Then we have the Clio. Now the Clio, as I said, is a little bit more of a technical approach to a hot hatch. Mid-engine makes it a totally different driving experience to any other modern hot hatch out there, pretty much. And it's the kind of car that it's kind of amazing that it got built at all as a production car, because usually something like that would just be a concept or a one-off. So it's very cool, actually, that Renault did it. It's cool to have it back. It's been a part of Gran Turismo for such a long time. Of course, it was a premium in GT6 anyway, so it already had the interior, but it looks that much better now. The handling definitely has a unique flair with the very short wheelbase, almost a Chaparral 2J style area of the car. It's almost like driving a cube in effect, which gives it unique properties to the handling, again with the mid-engine layout and the rear-wheel drive, but I like it. The Clio feels good. The car that actually surprised me the most in the pleasant sense is the Toyota Sports 800. Not a car which I've ever had a huge amount of love for, but I was surprised by how many people on the Discord server seemed really excited for this one, because I'm pretty sure even, that I reviewed it in GT6 and I don't recall much chatter being said about it. And yet people seem to love it now, which kind of surprises me. I don't think it was a premium back then either. So we do have the interior. It looks very nice. Nice to have another classic in the game. Not very powerful, so a pretty good natural rival to stuff like the Beetle or the Samba Bus. But when you tune it up, you can actually make it into quite the little bruiser. Weighs about half a ton, about 130 horsepower, fully tuned, so for N100, I'd say it's one to watch out for, and I'm going to test it later on in the review itself around Dragon Trail to see how it compares to some of the K cars in the game. Next up we have the Camaro, of course. The no-brainer, why would you not have a Camaro in a game that features any muscle cars at all? It's very compact. As I said, it's much lighter than a lot of other muscle cars. You can detune it to, or tune it even, to about 1,200 kilos, 1,250, something like that if memory serves. Power can be increased to almost 600, so you can make yourself a nice little track muscle car. This one that I'm driving in the video is around N200, so it's actually detuned and it feels fantastic. Drop the weight, drop the power a little bit, you can make yourself a really nice little track car for lower classes. And as far as the Red Bull goes, the Red Bull was actually the most surprising to me in a negative sense, because although a lot of people, of course, were not particularly excited for the Red Bull anyway, in a similar way to how many of the Vision GT cars don't tend to have everyone excited, this one actually disappointed me because it's really slow. Now, it's not slow around a track, but the fact that it actually has more power, a bigger capacity, and I believe more torque, although I have to double check that, than the normal X2014 has, the standard, I expected it to have a higher top speed, because more power, lower downforce, it's kind of a no-brainer. It doesn't. In fact, it's a lot slower. You'll see in this video, it struggles to pass 200 miles per hour. That's shocking. For a car with over 800 horsepower, regardless of the downforce, it should still be able to push over 200, especially given that the tune I did for the standard X2014 can do 245 miles per hour. So that was kind of a shocker to me. As far as track cars go, I haven't tuned up the handling purely for circuit racing yet, so we'll get to that more in depth in its actual review, and to see how it compares in terms of lap times. I suspect it will be a little bit slower. It definitely feels a little bit more raw than the X2014 does, which is appropriate. As I said, it probably would feel that way. So overall, my thoughts on the pack are, of course, it's smaller. That's nothing new these days, unfortunately, for Polyphony. I believe we are winding down towards Gran Turismo 7 production, probably already in development. Well, I should hope it already is. And as far as other stuff in the pack as well, we've got some new scapes, but they're actually not new. It's just a selection of scapes, and also Goodwood circuit experience, which is a nice little extra bit of cash for those who need it. Doesn't take very long at all, of course. The whole track takes like a minute and a half in a slow car and a minute in a good one. And we have a Red Bull career event, an endurance race, which doesn't really pay out that well. It's $500,000 for 30 laps, so there are definitely faster ways of earning money, but it's decent. You know, if you want to do an endurance race with your Red Bull, why not? Overall then, my thoughts on the pack are, I like the Clio. I was disappointed with the Red Bull in terms of top speed. The sound is pretty good. The Clio, as I said, I do like. The Tundra I like very much, and the Toyota Sports 800 is probably the standout. The Camaro is exactly as good as I expected it to be, which is good. And the tracks are a little bit of a mix for me. I like the middle variation the most. The longer one's okay, the shorter one's okay. The middle one's the sweet spot for me. I like that one. But yeah, curious to see when rain comes now. Probably next month, I'm guessing, but we'll have to wait and see. So as I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and that's it for mine. So of course, stick around on the channel. I will be reviewing every single one of the 5 cars, and you'll see in those reviews some more footage of the tracks in action, and of course, I'll be tuning them as well. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.